In this video, we'll be taking a look at how you go about creating a super bill for a client. A super bill, as you know, is nothing more than a modified invoice that a client can take and submit to their insurance company for reimbursement. There is a short sequence of events that needs to happen to create a super bill, and we're going to go ahead and walk through those now. So I'm currently logged in as a clinician, and I'm looking at one of my assigned clients. And I'm ready to go ahead and create a treatment plan, which will in turn let me create a super bill for this particular client. So I'm currently looking at the Notes tab. I'm going to go to the Treatment Plans tab, and we're going to go ahead and create a new treatment plan for this client. And as you know, we have a general treatment plan format, and then we also have the DSM-5 formatted treatment plan, which supplies the DSM-5 as well as the ICD-10 diagnosis codes. And as we look at the treatment plan form, you see there's a diagnosis detail box here, and it's letting us know basically that if you do intend to create a super bill for this client, these two particular fields do need to be filled out to proceed and create a super bill. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these out. The first field is the DSM-5 diagnosis, and you can either click into this box to show all the different DSM-5 and ICD-10 codes, or you can just simply type right into this field. I'm going to type in the word anxiety. And once I find the result that I'm looking for, I'll just go ahead and select it. You can select multiple diagnosis codes if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and use one for this example. Once I've got a diagnosis code selected, I then move on to the next field, and I'm basically just selecting the appointment that this treatment plan applies to. The reason we have to select an appointment here is because there's a service fee associated with the actual appointment. Therefore, when we go to create the invoice, we're able to collect that service fee and attach that to the invoice as well. So the appointment that we're looking for took place on the 27th. I'll make that selection. And once I'm done with the diagnosis detail section, then I can just go ahead and fill out the rest of this treatment plan form like I normally would. So I can address the mental status. I'll just say all within normal limits. And then further down the form, I've got the presenting problem and the treatment plan objective inputs. I'll go ahead and fill that out now. Okay, I've got the presenting problem and the treatment plan objective filled out. I also have the frequency of treatment. And then when I'm ready, I can go ahead and digitally sign this treatment plan. If I've shared this particular client with anybody else in my staff, whether it be another clinician, or an administrative clinician, they can sign this treatment plan as well. So I'll go ahead and just check the box here to sign and click Save. And when the treatment plan gets saved, I can go back up to my treatment plan list, and there it is, the most recent one. I can review it, and now we're ready to go over and create the actual super bill. So to create the super bill, I'll just come up here to the Ledger tab. And creating a super bill at this point is just like creating a standard invoice. Since we've already addressed the diagnosis section of the treatment plan, all the information that we'll need for the super bill will be put on the invoice automatically. So let's go ahead and do that. From the ledger, I'll just go ahead over here to the action button and say create invoice. And on the invoice creation screen, we see already that we've got services to be invoiced. So this was the appointment that the client came in for. I don't need to add any additional invoice items. I'm just going to go ahead and create an invoice based off this appointment. To do that, I can just review the amount here and click Save Invoice. Okay, so now I'm returned back to the ledger, and there's the invoice we just created, an open invoice. So I've got the invoice ID, the invoice date, service dates, the invoice details, and who the staff member is, which in this case would be me. I'm logged in as Annie at this point. But if I want to take a look at this invoice and print it, I just click the print button. Okay, and here is the invoice. So I've got all my general information here, the client, the invoice date, provider information, our tax ID, NPI number, and provider contact information. And as we look at the actual summary for the invoice, we see our one line item, which is the psychotherapy appointment, the rate that was designated for that particular appointment, and more importantly, here's our diagnostic information that is needed for the actual super bill to be submitted to an insurance company. So from here, I can just simply print it, or I can create a PDF version of it if I wanted to email it to my client. And I can always come back here and print this at any time, so it doesn't matter if the client comes back a couple weeks later and requests one. I just simply come back to this view and I can print this super bill at any time. So I'll just go back to the ledger to once again see my open invoice. Now, if the client actually pays this invoice and then wants to get reimbursed, to accept payment is very simple. I just come up here to the action button once again. I say accept payment. There's my open invoice, and I just come over here, and for the payment amount I'll say $100 was paid. I'll go ahead and save payment. That invoice now moves into the paid invoices section of the ledger, and if I go to print that, I can still print a super bill, but you'll see now that it has been marked as paid. So they'll get this watermark on the super bill, letting the insurance company know that this bill was paid by the client.